Welcome back to College Football Addiction. Blake Ruffino, AYS Sports, and the Ruffino and Joe Show. Blake, it's been a wild couple of weeks. Has this been a fun time for you? The bye week didn't really settle anything down. You didn't really get to take a break, did you?
No break, no bye week. Normally when we have a bye week, TJ, it gets to a place in time where I think we're able to settle down, and kind of regroup ourselves because, the season's very long. But no, I mean, it was an astronomically big week. And look, it's not just a coaching search. I mean, you have a new AD that you have to go after. And I know that you quoted the source story that we had about Mike Alford at Florida State. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of things. Today, or as we're recording this on Tuesday, LSU will have a new sitting president of their university. And so, TJ, it's a lot of juggling parts. And then, obviously, the entire world got to meet our great governor this past week. So it has been a very interesting 96 hours, I guess you could say, a little bit more than that. I mean, the coaching firing of Brian Kelly is a massive one. But this has kind of gotten to start, get off the rails here. But, now the only thing that we need to talk about is where does LSU go from here? And if you want to ask if it was a coup, I think you could probably think that it was politically. But if you want to know what Louisiana is all about politically, you basically got to see it played out on a national scale.
The narrative around this, you mentioned the phrase off the rails, and I was going to ask this. The narrative around this is that it's a complete crap show. From the governor, the comments, the AD, the president, just who's there, who's not there, interim, all this stuff. Is it really a crap show, or is that more the narrative? Can you maybe give me some more perspective on that? Because it's easy when you're in this business field, whatever. It's easy for the people on social media to just be like, oh, what a shit show they got going over there. Is it really though? Like, can we really bring some sense to it?
I think it is. So two things can be true at once. I think it is from the standpoint of your governor going on Pat McAfee saying we're getting doing incentive laden deals and, saying that we're still in the BCS system when we have the college football playoff. I mean, those kinds of things, TJ, make it off the rails. When he says that Jimmy Sexton and Trace Armstrong should be disbarred, or if not insinuating that, but saying like if I was in my profession of being an attorney, I would be disbarred. I'd have a conflict of interest, which quite honestly, TJ, he's not wrong, right? Like he's not wrong in the sense of that how do only do a couple of agents represent everything that goes on in one sport? And so when you call things out like that, and then you call things out like the sitting AD will not be making the coaching hire here, I think that is a big deal. And then lastly, saying something to the effect of the taxpayers are going to have to fit this bill, which is not the truth. I think he has made this more of a circus than what it actually is. So he definitely had his political views. He's definitely meddled in a lot of things here. So from that standpoint, I think it is. In reference to a crapshoot, I mean, here's the truth. The governor and the politicians are going to have to make sure that this next head coaching search works because their literal election cycle is based off of this. Yeah. And I know that sounds crazy, but as people of Louisiana, I mean, it's going to be a massive deal in how they do it. But this is still LSU. I think that they'll start getting alignment starting again as we're recording this. I just want to make sure that we're saying that, TJ, just in the sense of because there's going to be a lot of moves made. When you start getting the president, you start getting a little bit of alignment here. I mean, who we believe is going to be the sitting president said, let me take care of the governor. He ain't going to have no say, and he's going to stop meddling. So if that is the truth here, then here we go. But is it crazy on the surface right now? Yes, but I do see some of the things they're doing. I do think that they're going to take a massive stab for a couple of coaches here, depending on how it goes.
How much do you buy? And I think I know your answer to this, but I just want to get you to say it. I don't, even from the outsider's perspective of a guy living in Tampa that just watches this thing from afar, even if I do think it's some kind of a massive crap, mess that it is, and the governor meddling and stuff, there's almost like a narrative like, oh, well, that's going to deter coaches. Do you buy that at all?
No, not in that sense. I see, you got to understand people. Well, I say you got to understand. People have got to understand coaches at that level are narcissistic human beings.
Sure.
Name a head coach that's had massive amounts of success. It's not a narcissist. I'll wait. I mean, it doesn't exist. So I think that they look at this as a situation where that they could come in here and do it. Now, do I think it brings up unwanted questions? Like, TJ, who's your boss going to be?
Right.
I mean, you don't know. Do I go to the president when I need something? I do think LSU, though, in all of the crap, okay, that is being brought up here, something that I've heard that's a little bit interesting that they might put in the contract is the next head coach has an X amount of guaranteed money to go in the portal or in recruiting for NIL, meaning I'm just going to throw out a number here. Like at minimum, LSU's got to provide the head coach with $18 million worth of money for NIL. Like they got to raise that level of money. TJ, I mean, like, I mean,
writing checks that you can't cash type stuff.
Well,
no,
no.
not that they can't, but like, will they? Like, so that counts on other people.
Well, in a contract, they're going to have to, and so I do think that they're trying to rewrite some things, kind of like what they did with Saban in 1999 in reference to like fully guaranteed contract. If we're going to be truthful, it's funny. LSU was the first program to do full guaranteed contracts with Nick Saban. $1 million guaranteed. So thank you to Jimmy Sexton and Mark Emmert, who was the NCAA the president at the time. So LSU was technically the ones that started all of this and now want to go away from it. Maybe they're trend setting like they did when Saban came here. Who knows? But there's a lot of things that I'm hearing behind the scenes of what they're trying to do. I think they're going to try to entice some people with signing bonuses, believe it or not. Yeah. And so we'll see. I don't know. I don't think it's perturbed them, meaning like what the governor has said. I think that the people that are running this search have come out in there and said, listen, he's had his say. We've told him to be quiet. He's not going to have any say. But if a sitting governor can have pretty much the stroke to fire a head coach, I do think it's a concern for some coaches. Like, hey, man, if I go there and you start meddling again, then this isn't going to work.
Obviously, Lane is the name that everyone mentions, and it's the name that I think Lane might be coaching 6 teams at this time next year, which is maybe he'll just have the quad box up in his house, different microphones he puts on.
Not if YouTube TV doesn't strike a deal.
Right? Yeah, not if these idiots at Google and Disney don't start playing nice and trying to screw us more than they already do.
No doubt.
Lane's the name for a lot of schools. Florida, I think Auburn would maybe be 3rd in the pecking order. Well, 4th if you count Ole Miss. But yeah, I mean, Lane is where a lot of people look. If Lane happens, Lane happens. We'll talk about it 10 times between now and LSU's opener next year. I think against Clemson. If it's not Lane, like that's just such the obvious one that I don't think we need to talk about why he would make sense. Why people want him. Would they go group of 5? Would they go Summerall? Because here's my take, and you can grade me, correct me. You know this better than me. My take is that Summerall might be the best one, but it doesn't win the press. Does it win the press conference? And I think a lot of times you're going to pay $50 million to fire a guy. You got to go do something sexy. And I don't know that he's the sexy guy. Now, whether or not he has success or not, I don't know what that to be determined on any group of 5 coach that jumps up. But and really any Power 4 coach, there's nothing saying that Lane is going to come in and have success either. But I just feel like that's a harder sell. And if you're LSU, you want more of a sure thing, and you do want to win that early confidence from your fan base and your donors.
There's a couple of things with John Summerall that I wonder here. Everyone perceives that the governor is going to have say on who the next head coach is. Right? And I think that he will. And I think that his elected president will. And Wade Rouse, I think that's where it's going to go. Maybe we're having conversations that it's not. I do wonder, from my old life, I've heard from a lot of people, and I say old life, meaning like I'm not a vampire and was reincarnated or something like that. But before I got into this business, the last decade before I started into this, I was in that world from a political standpoint in the sense of that I was around those and have built a lot of contacts. I don't know that. Here's how I'll say it, because we got to talk about politics here. I think there's a lot of Republicans inside the state that got law degrees from Tulane that would be mad even if John Summerall leaves. They don't care about that. I don't know the perception or political fight that Jeff Landry wants to get into with John Summerall. You're plucking a Tulane head coach to then go to LSU. TJ, there's so many different things and hurdles that they'd have to overcome there from an inside political standpoint. Not saying Jeff Landry won't get in a political fight. Look what he's doing right now. So I don't know about John Summerall. We'll see how that goes. I do think they want to go a little bit more established. I do think that they would go look at it like an Eli Drinkwitz or somebody else in that realm. I don't know if John Summerall would be the one that they would go after. I still think that there's other coaches around the country that they would probably entertain a little bit more before getting to John Summerall and potentially hiring their interim head coach and Frank Wilson, maybe even potentially before they hire John Summerall. So I'm not saying John's not on that list. Like, do you look at a Kenny Dillingham before you look at John Summerall as an example? So I think that I'm not saying he wouldn't be like on a quote unquote list, but I think LSU would have to get kind of down that list before they gave John Summerall the nod, which, by the way, TJ, he's from pretty much Auburn, Alabama, right? I mean, he's from 20 miles away. I mean, that one makes a lot of sense. Let them, God forbid, hire Jimbo. And that's, from what I hear, that's got serious legs from the boosters there. So, no, I kind of need to see John Summerall happen before it happens, before I think that it does. I don't think they go G5, though, TJ, to be blunt with you. And they very well may. I just think that if they do go G5, someone's going to have to blow them off their feet here. And there's a lot of politics playing behind this. That's why I'm saying, like,
I'll get right back to the video, but first, let me remind you about our friends over at Sleeper. Make sure that you are using the Sleeper app this college football season, whether you're playing in your eliminator leagues, whether you're playing fantasy football, or whether you're playing the more or less game to make some money with us. You can still deposit on Sleeper and get a 100% match up to $100 by using our code CFA. If you just want to click the link in the description, that'll autofill the code for you. It'll download the app and autofill the code. You don't have to do any work. Put your info in, play the more or less game with us, go get the free plays and make some money with us. Make sure that you read their terms and conditions because terms of use do apply. Appreciate Sleeper for their support here on College Football Addiction.
You can avoid the Lane thing, but I don't think people really understand what happened last week. Okay. What I mean by that is if they don't go and deliver a top name, TJ, he might not get reelected.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, it's just a football coach. Okay.
Don't say just football in Louisiana, buddy.
Don't just say that. I mean, TJ, his approval rating last week was 43%. As of this morning, it's 37%.
Yeah. And nothing else has happened. It ain't like a hurricane came through. It ain't like a flood happened. It ain't like
It dropped 12 points. So again, he's going to have to land somebody massive here. And I think an Eli or Dillingham or a specifically Lane. Look, let's just call it what it is. TJ, they want Lane Kiffin. That's the bottom line fact here. Okay. And listen, I'll tell you this too. I hear that there's a massively big name P4 coach that wants the Florida job more than Lane Kiffin does. I think he's along the West Coast, and I don't think he likes living in the state that he's living in. So we'll see here. I know that Florida really wants Lane. If you ask LSU people, they think it's between LSU and Ole Miss for Lane, and I think that that's where they're going to continue to stay their focus until Lane Kiffin tells them no. Do they have backup plans? Yeah, I think they have backup plans. I don't know if it's their central focus at the current moment.
The last thing I'll ask you on Lane, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Bama game, is I think they're going to win out. Now, they could drop to Florida. They did last year. They could drop to Mississippi State. They've been better this year, and it is a rivalry. But I think they're going to win out. If they win out, I think they're the 5 seed, meaning they get to play like USF or Memphis or something like that. Meaning Lane Kiffin's going to have a game in 2026. Well, maybe not 2026, but on the 30th or 31st or something like that.
Right.
Would LSU wait and just trust his word that he's going to, because he could win that one too, right? And then he could be playing until the 10th. And so if they get it's almost like to me, if they get the 5 seed, will LSU say, and probably Florida too, and we just can't wait. We just can't. We can't wait for hoping that you keep your word on this. Because what if he goes and wins the national title? Like, is he really going to leave then after a national? Like, I don't know. Like,
Ash Schlossnagle.
yeah.
I mean, like, it's not unprecedented. Do I think LSU would wait for Lane Kiffin? You're damn right they would.
Yeah.
You're damn right they would. Because what's going to happen? I mean, you would have the portal and you would have the portal problems, but the staff at LSU doesn't leave. And I got to be real with you. If it's Lane, I think the interim head coach Frank Wilson stays. Their owner staff. I mean, TJ, just being blunt with you, do I think that they would wait? Yes. I mean, look at how long how long Alabama waited for a decision with Nick. I mean, Nick's been very vocal about that decision. He said he told them. They waited until for Kalen DeBoer for him to make that announcement. Yeah. I mean,
that's a great point. We think, oh, well, you don't want to miss the cycle. They could still go pull some. I mean, LSU is still the brand of LSU. It's not like you're Florida State, and not to crap on my own brand, but it's not like you're Florida State missing the cycle, because Florida State's not pulling an elite coach from, like, Florida State's not going to go pull somebody in the middle of January, right? They're going to have to go get a group of 5 guys.
Let me ask you this. Does Eli Trinkowitz tell LSU no after January the 10th?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. I mean, DeBoer did it to Washington, didn't he?
Yeah, he did it to Washington.
You know, like, this is not, and then what Arizona, like this. Yeah, I've never thought of that. Like, you are waiting and you're hoping, but you can go get somebody in the middle of January. It's not, if you're LSU, I don't think Washington can go pull somebody elite. I don't think Florida State can go pull somebody top of the line elite in the middle of January. Florida probably could too. You know, I'll give them the credit. Auburn, I don't know. So, like, yeah, it is waiting, but it's not unrealistic to say, okay, we'll go take Drinkowitz in the middle of January and do that. Or if you have to go down the list, if you have to go to Summerall or Golish or anybody else, you're still pulling no matter when it is.
But here's the thing: does Penn State? We look at this from one prism, right? Meaning we look at it from only the LSU prism. What's Penn State going to do?
Yeah,
like, are they off the board? Let's just say, God forbid, Auburn does hire John Summerall. Okay, well, he's off the board. Well, what if Florida panics, which Scott
Stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened, and they have panicked before. Look at Billy Napier. LSU wasn't after Billy Napier. Scott Strickland panicked. Like, I'll tell the story, TJ. I know for a fact he was in Lafayette because he was for sure that Scott Woodward was going after Billy Napier. No, he wasn't. They never had a conversation. Okay?
It's the cup game. He played
100%. And I know how y'all do it. You just pick it up and put it down. I know how y'all do it. You magicians ain't slick. Here's the thing. Do you not wait for Lane Kiffin? If it's January the 10th, and here's another thing, TJ, there's one thing that I know about this search for a fact. If you don't have a sitting head coach in 25 days, then you know who you're waiting for. Because who else in the playoff are they waiting for? They're not waiting for Ryan Day. They're not waiting for Kalen DeBoer. They're not waiting for Kirby. They're not waiting. Who are the other teams in the playoff? Right? Like,
yeah.
Maybe if USC sneaks in there, maybe Lincoln Riley. And I got to tell you,
big maybe, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, you're not LSU. I'll tell you this. I think I'm pretty confident. I'm like 97.2%. That's a good round number to put. Nothing can be 100%. I'm 97% sure that LSU was the reason that On3 broke the Dan Lanning building story in reference to his buyout. I heard that LSU went up into Oregon and started knocking, saying, "Oh, he's got a $20 million buyout. Show me the contract."
Yeah,
they ain't waiting. Okay, like, oh, Dan, you got a $20 million buyout. Show me. It's like, you know, your friend says, "Hey, man, I killed a 10-point deer. He got a big old antlers. All right, well, show me." And then he shows you, and you're like, "Oh, well, damn, he did kill it." You know what I mean? And so I do think that LSU did that. But the thing is, TJ, number one, I think they'd wait. But I think we have to calibrate how we see coaching searches. Because the way that we saw coaching searches, well, if he's in a 14 playoff, TJ, this is a 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the thing that we might have to calibrate our thing. And here's the thing. Last thing I'd say on this. Your recruiting class in high school is going to be your recruiting class. You're going to have to wait till December. I mean, TJ, the class is going to be signing before the head coach is announced anyway. You know, like I mean, like what
Right.
what are you panicking on? I guess the portal, but you better have a really good GM, which I think LSU does, to rally that ship and go from there. So look, man, we'll see. I do think that if Lane Kiffin says it's between LSU and Ole Miss, I think LSU would wait. Yeah.
In our next video, we're going to talk about the Alabama LSU game. If you want to see that, you can click on the screen right now to watch it. Again, Blake Ruffino, AYS Sports, and Ruffino and Joe Show.
Go sub.